Candidates Night. I'm Charlie Sorensen, your moderator for this evening. On behalf of the League, I'd first like to thank the Cle Elum Centennial Center for providing the space and the refreshments in the back. There's coffee and water in case you get thirsty. This Candidates Night Forum is brought to you by the League of Women Voters in Kittitas County. We have sponsored Candidates Nights in the county to help educate voters since 1980. For those of you unfamiliar with the League, we are a nonprofit, nonpartisan grassroots organization that never supports or opposes individual candidates or political parties. Our goals in hosting these events is simply to educate the voters about these candidates as they stand for election and their position on issues that matter to you. Tonight's forum will focus on candidates running for County Commissioner District 1 and Roslyn City Council seats. Tomorrow night, we will focus on candidates for Fire District 7, Water District 7, and Roslyn City Mayor. We were informed only last week that both candidates for Water District 5 have decided not to attend, and we're sorry for any confusion this may have caused. For the first half hour, we will proceed with the County Commissioner candidates and questions. Take a short break to reset our recording because we're live streaming to Facebook tonight. And for the last hour and a half, we'll devote it to the Roslyn City Council candidates. We will post our voters guide on our website on October 18th. The guide will include links to these candidates' campaign websites, their financial filings, this video, lots of information. So we urge you to check it out and share it. We also thank you in advance for remaining civil and courteous during tonight's event. And here's our format. Each candidate will be given 2 minutes for an opening statement to allow them to provide you with their qualifications and background. Then you, the audience, will be given the opportunity to ask written questions of the candidates. League volunteers will circulate with cards and pens during the evening, so raise your hand if you want to submit a question. Be clear and to the point, and please, God, print. We will continue asking questions until our time is up. Candidates will be given 1 minute to respond to each question. Should an opponent wish to rebut a response, they have 30 seconds, and there's only one rebuttal per question. We will rotate the order questions are asked, so no one candidate must always answer first, so if I screw this up, please let me know. We will close the questioning in time for the candidates to be given the opportunity to make a 1-minute closing statement. The League of Women Voters records and retains a full, unedited copy of all candidates' night's forums. If any portions of tonight's event are redistributed out of context to make a candidate appear to say something they did not say, or are edited specifically to make a candidate look bad, or in any way they did not legitimately look at this forum, then the League will alert the media, provide the unedited video for comparison, and file any appropriate complaints. So don't test that. At this time, please turn off your cell phones. Running for County Commissioner District 1 are incumbent Corey Wright and Nancy Wilquist. Let's start with their opening statements. Mr. Wright?
Thank you. My name is Corey Wright. I am honored to have been appointed as your District 1 County Commissioner and have spent the past year not only learning much, but also contributing much to the position and our county. While I may be new to this position, I am neither new to understanding our county, nor managing large and complex operations. My family has lived in Kittitas County for 7 generations, with service in local government, civic organizations, and developing our landscape and agriculture. I've spent the past 20 years in private industry gaining an immense amount of knowledge about what is required to not only manage a business, but more importantly, build success with thoughtful policy, ethical principles, and a long-term focus on positive, measurable results. I've now brought that to the executive position of your county government. I believe our best days are still ahead of us. Some may believe that the decisions and missteps of the past have put us at a disadvantage. I respectfully disagree. I believe many of the decisions, rather, have led us to the point of being poised at a crossroads. We have underused facilities, underdeveloped commercial land, and hold a strategic geographical position in our state. Our natural beauty is breathtaking, and people want to live here. I believe the decisions of the next decade will truly chart the path of our future success. I am excited for this opportunity, and I believe my broad experience building successful organizations makes me the right person for the job. However, I can give you the three most important reasons that best describe why I'm doing it. Laura, Carson, and Samantha. Those are my three children. I'm simply running to ensure we have a better county to pass on to them and everyone else who is raising a family here in Kittitas County. We all love our home, and I want all of our kids to have the opportunities to live and raise their own families here. Thank you.
I want to thank the League of Women Voters for organizing this event up here in Cle Elum. I'm excited to be here. I want to begin by saying that I have the skills needed to do the job of commissioner. I have a background in water resources and land use and experience governing. I was elected 5 times to the Ellensburg City Council, serving 18 years, including 2 as mayor. And I have a vision for Kittitas County. I will work for supportive communities, prosperous economies, and a sustainable environment. I will work for efficient, civil, and transparent government. Rather than providing too much detail at this time, I'd like to use the time to address an emerging campaign issue. Since this campaign started, I've heard about my opponent's temper and difficult relationships with the county commissioners. And apparently, issues were disruptive enough that the commissioners hired a facilitator in May to help them communicate at a cost of $6,600. And then I heard about an incident between the commissioners, after which they hired a psychologist in September for $10,000 for phase 1 of the contract. I heard rumors. I wanted to know the facts. So I asked for the documents. I received 2 official complaints, one from each of the other Republican county commissioners. I barely had time to read those records before Mr. Wright released them himself, and I appreciate that because I think it did take some courage to do that. One of the documents was an incident report filed by Commissioner Oshadich to Human Resources describing her fearing for her safety as Commissioner Wright yelled in posture. The other was from Commissioner Walksmith to the prosecuting attorney, verifying verbal outburst and stating that it was not the first time he had witnessed. And I'm past my time, apparently. Thank you.
Do I get to rebut an opening statement, which I believe is somewhat inflammatory? Is that wrong? Thank you.
Okay, the question. We'll start with you, Mr. Wright. What are your top 2 action items for Upper County if you're reelected?
Well, first off, my probably top action item for the Upper County is knowing that their county government is in good hands.
I'd like to speak to this right away.
I appreciate that we're getting this out there. I come from an industry where if we don't use clear communication, people get hurt and accidents happen and equipment gets damaged. I believe that clear communication has been the foundation of my success over the years, and I brought that same principle to your county government. I also would like to tell you that organizational development and training is a $100 billion industry in this country. Our public shareholders of business depend on their top management to ensure that they have the best tools available. And I believe our county taxpayers want the same for their county government. We are a $100 million government with 300 employees with a $100 million budget. And I believe we're doing the right thing by getting the right training in there to help us make better decisions.
Okay, I'm going to ask you not to applaud every question, please. We're going to save our applause for when the candidates wrap it up. Thank you. Nancy?
My priority is also has to do with county government. I think that we need to prioritize our spending, retain good staff, and streamline our administrative processes. Two priorities. The second priority would be to foster a stable and diversified economy, providing jobs that pay the bills for Kittitas County. Eat the mic.
Maybe if we trade mics.
Try that. Okay, the second question, we're starting with Nancy. Would you support holding regular Kittitas Conference of Government meetings in Upper County? If not, why not?
I would support holding regular commissioner meetings in Kittitas County. I need to understand the cost of doing that. And I need to, the logistics of doing that. I'm aware that, much of the staff is in Lower County, but I'm sorry, I'm distracted by hand motions. The county should be more accessible to folks up here. It is difficult for citizens to be involved in their government if they have to travel half an hour every time they want to go to a commission meeting. And so I would hope that we would do more as a county commission up in Upper County.
Hello? Hello?
Okay, thanks. Would you mind repeating the question?
Would you support? Would you support holding regular Kittitas Conference of Government meetings in Upper County? If not, why not?
So specific. Just talk loud. Can I talk loud? Can everyone hear me?
We'll try it. But if I can caution you, when you normally talk, your voice rises and falls.
Right.
So just try and keep it up.
Project?
Yes, project. Thank you.
So, to be clear, the question was conference of governments and not commissioner meetings. I'm sorry, I mean, this is difficult hearing back and forth. But conference of governments specifically relates to the coordination of our cities and municipalities to spend our distressed county sales tax fund, also known as the .09 funds, which are our economic development refunds from the state. And I absolutely believe that we should be working to have these meetings in the Upper County, only because our cities then can be recognized by those who don't normally travel up here. It's important for everyone to have visibility making these decisions on every community in our county, and I am 100% supportive of doing whatever we can to bring government that has traditionally been centered in the Lower County on a much broader basis to all residents.
Yeah, so I'm sorry, I misunderstood the question. I served on the Council of Governments for a little while, and we did alternate meetings from Upper to Lower County, so I guess I was not aware that they did not continue that tradition. I think that is absolutely fair to do so.
Thank you. Mr. Wright, would you support live streaming county commissioner meetings so more Upper County residents could participate remotely?
So right now we do live stream our commissioner meetings. For those of you that don't know, they are on our website. There's also an archive of those. Specifically, we do our agenda meetings, our study sessions, some other special meetings, and also specifically our budget meetings. There was some discussion this year about potentially not doing our budget meetings live streamed anymore, and I said absolutely not. I think that is one of the most important sessions that our citizens should have access to, is how your money is spent and the discussion that goes into making those decisions. I will do anything I can to push our government out to the people out there, including taking advantage of social media where we can. We are looking at multiple options, looking at personnel who can bring a better understanding of this issue, to how our government can become more participatory to those folks who don't have time to show up 8 to 5 during the normal workday. So I'm accessible at my office. I'm open to any idea, but we are doing what we can to bring your government to you.
Nancy?
I've not followed county government until this campaign as closely as I have, and they do have the live streaming that is available, and I appreciate that, and I appreciate the efforts that are being made to foster transparency in county government. I'm frankly just confused about how it works, because there was a lot of study sessions that happened during the day with department head stuff and things that I would expect to be on the normal business agenda that happen in these smaller, not regular at all meetings that are scheduled here and there. And I would hope to review why that's done that way and move towards a system of putting more of the decision-making on the regular business meeting and having those discussions that would then be videotaped. Thanks.
Thank you. Already forgotten who's next.
I'm first.
Thank you. If there are no new county revenues or industrial growth, would you raise taxes or cut services? Or is there a third option?
If there are no new revenue sources from economic growth and we needed money to make the budget pencil out, there would be a combination. I would think everything has to be on the table. I don't know that it comes to that in this year, certainly, or in the future. I do think that the county should take the 1% that is allowed under the law for raising the property taxes each year. To not do so doesn't keep you up with inflation and doesn't allow any growth in your budget, and we all know that costs are rising and you don't get that back.
Thank you. Mr. Wright?
Well, first off, I will say that all three of your commissioners at this point are fiscal conservatives. So we are trying to figure out how best to spend their money in the face of potential recession ahead of us. We are all committed to maintaining our county rainy day fund, and this year we will again be setting aside money to ensure that we can provide essential services in the event of a recession. I believe that the question itself is a good one, but it's also one which bears further examination. When you do have a recession, there's still opportunities, and businesses are looking to site here, whether we like it or not. We are at a point of strategic significance for our state. So I don't believe that we will see declining commercial revenues here, but we need to make sure that our budget is balanced, which it is annually. We also need to be planning strategically for the future, and that means focusing on essential government services only.
Can I make a
Yes.
small, not a rebuttal, so much as an extra comment? I've served on the city council in Ellensburg for 18 years, and we weathered the 2008 recession while I was on the council without laying anyone off. And we always had reserves. We were very well fiscally managed, and I count myself as a fiscal conservative as well. I do not overspend taxpayer money. I'm very careful with the money.
Thank you. Hey, one of the audience members just pointed out that I'm referring to one candidate by first name and the other candidate by last name. Thank you so much. You're both by first name now. And Corey, it's your turn. Please describe your leadership style.
Well, as I've said, my leadership style is open, honest communication. I believe in getting issues on the table, and as I've said, when that doesn't happen, you have problems which are ignored, and we slap band-aids on them and expect them to be solved organically, and they don't happen by themselves. I value employees. I come from the standpoint of leaders eat last. Servant leaders are put in place not for personal gain, but to ensure that those working for them are built up with trust, but are also held accountable. I expect results, and I do measure results. That's one of the things that I think all of our department heads get tired of hearing. Give me results that we can measure, because without knowing where we stand on the yardstick, we will never have an idea whether we are moving forward in the right direction or not. So I'm committed to keeping our people accountable, but letting them know that they're empowered to make good decisions.
Thank you. Nancy.
I'm collaborative by nature. I want to create partnerships based on trusted relationships with partners, with different cities, with nonprofit organizations, chamber of commerce, whatever. I like to promote the free exchange of ideas, to gather facts, weigh options, and build consensus, and then decide on a course of action. As a supervisor, I want to trust the department directors to know their jobs and to manage their departments. And I would be verifying that the county commission's directives are implemented as the commission, the board desires. I believe in staff development. The key to success of any organization is its ability to attract and keep good people. And one key to that is wages and benefits packages, and I'm out of time.
Thank you. Corey.
I think when I end, I get an extra. I'm sorry.
Thank you. Okay, Nancy. What would be your solution to the weekend traffic problem in Upper County, if any?
Well, I know that Commissioner Oshadich is working on, with the State Department of Transportation, Central Washington University, and others to develop a package for I-90 projects. I suspect that the question also has to do with local traffic, and I'm a believer in infrastructure and getting grants for road projects. The City of Albuquerque has been very good at leveraging the money that we do have with state transportation grants. I would think that the county can do that as well and assist the cities. It's got to be assist transportation networks or networks that cross boundaries, and so we need to be working together to plan the next move on transportation.
Thank you. Corey?
Well, it is a 990 issue, and that's something that is definitely going to be the long-term final solution, and we're actually getting ahead of that now. Yes, Commissioner Oshadich is leading the way on this. I've also been a part of this. I have a career spent in port and terminal logistics, and I've been reaching out to the partners that I've built over the years in the Merchant Steamship Association, the Pacific Maritime Association, because it's not just a matter of getting folks back and forth, it's freight mobility. We are the critical link. So I'm also leveraging my relationships, and also we're going to go out and frankly hire lobbyists. This is a federal, it's going to take more than a band of married people walking up to Olympia. We are going to have to get out there with professional help, and we're willing to make this investment for the long term. And it's a long-term solution. We're talking 15 years, but we're going to be pushing the whole way. And it's a phased solution as well. And as far as here in the Upper County, I'll tell you next time I talk to you another time.
Thank you. Corey, what is the benefit of the Yakima Basin Integrated Plan to Upper County?
That's a good question. I am proud to be the county leader on the Yakima Basin Integrated Plan for your county commission, and I would love to talk about this. We hear a lot about storage and agriculture, but there is going to be a gigantic impact for this upper county when you have 300,000 sockeye returning to Lake Cle Elum. Talk about an economic generator. Nowhere else in Washington State will there be a comparable experience whatsoever. In fact, now we have salmon and salmon sack. That's something which we haven't seen for 100 years. We have the largest of its kind fish passage being built right now at Lake Cle Elum. We have the Tianaway Community Forest, which has been a huge economic generator for the upper county, but we've got to get new storage in place by 2025, or that could potentially revert back to the Department of Natural Resources as a trust forest, which is something that was built into the original bill to ensure that storage happens. We need to have storage, but all these solutions are coming together, and I am most excited to see this sockeye fishery finally come to fruition.
Thank you. Nancy?
I think water resources is one of my personal strengths. I have a degree in water resources management. I have consequently served on many of the boards and commissions for water-related issues in this county, including the Yakima Basin Fish and Wildlife Recovery Board for many years. The benefits to Upper County, I think Corey listed the Tianaway Forest, the potential for returning fish and the economic value of those, just the certainty that could be created with the water marketing efforts and the studies that they're doing on groundwater recharge could potentially promote more water availability generally.
Thank you.
The stop sign comes in.
This will be our last question before closing comments. Nancy, how do you plan to ensure that public health is an effective part of our county government?
Our public health department is a key department in the county, and it is a very well-functioning department as far as I can tell, and doing great things for just the general public health immunization, inspecting restaurants, providing for well inspections and that process, and so they are a critical piece of county government and promoting all of our health.
Corey?
Well, public health is actually a foundational duty of your county government. But unfortunately, it's one that the state continues to take resources from. So we have been working hard to figure out how to make public health continue to be the service organization that we've all come to expect over the years. And they've actually done a fantastic job, first off, of organizational efficiency within their own department by examining not only their grant contracts out there now and ensuring that they can continue to retain those. And if they can't, let's figure out a way to retool and ensure that we are still continuing to meet our state-required marks for public health services, and not get too far out into areas which are nice, but not necessarily something which we need to be seeing in this county. We're also looking to supplement the admissions tax, which right now is a tax which was put in place really for people coming here who are attending events, and that's specifically for public health.
Thank you. Now we're going to do closing statements. Nancy, we're going to start with you.
So you, the voter, are the boss. It's your job to choose the best qualified candidate for the Kittitas County Commissioner position that's open right now. And as you weigh the qualities and qualifications of the two candidates in front of you, please consider Who knows government process well enough to navigate through the rules and regulations to bring home the results and stay out of trouble? Who has a vision that will create a prosperous economy, supportive communities, and healthy environment? Who has a better understanding of important land and water issues? Who will work to make sure that your money is spent on your priorities? And who has the ability to work well with the other commissioners, employees, and partners and lead our county into the future? I'm that candidate. Please vote, because the future of this county depends on your choice.
Thank you. Corey?
15 months ago, I began the journey as your county commissioner. At the time, I could not imagine the amount of learning that awaited me, but I was confident that the tools I had gained over 20 years in private business would help me navigate new waters. Looking back now, I believe those tools are the reason that we are moving in the right direction for the future. I am bringing a new focus to efficiency, customer service, and strategic planning that promises new opportunities. I have a unique experience throughout my career and pleasure of never having to sell a product I didn't personally believe in. More than ever, I am proud to advocate for something that I know can deliver beyond expectations in Kittitas County. I continue to believe our brightest days lay before us. We stand at a fork in the road, and the right leadership will direct us on the path to success. Management of growth, while growing our economy, is critical. And a leader who both understands the marketplace, but also the heritage we have built over 150 years, is a linchpin for our future. Our children depend on us making the right choices now, and I know I am the candidate for it. I thank you for your support and urge you to get your ballots in by November 5th. Thank you.
Thank you. Now, for those of you that we didn't get to your questions, these candidates have graciously agreed to come to our forum on October 24th down at Al Holmes. So you can come down there and we can continue questioning them. I would really like you all to join me in thanking these candidates for being here tonight. At this time, we're going to take a short break to allow the Roslyn City Council candidates to come forward and reset our video. If the candidates wish to stay and to talk to you some more, please do so in the lobby so you do not disrupt the remainder of the event. If any of you are interested in knowing more about Kittitas County League of Women Voters, chat with any of us here tonight, give us your name or grab a brochure in the back.
I think my working knowledge of our city and my vision for its future make me uniquely qualified to serve, and I'm ready to stand up for Roslyn without compromise. I want to make council a place where our community can publicly find solutions that fit. I've made my career and continue to work as a trade unionist, finding ways to put a dollar in working families' pockets. Between August 2014 and January 17, I served at the Roslyn City Council, where I learned how to get things done and gained an understanding of the strengths and weaknesses of our city government. I've been to this rodeo before. We need to take action now to improve the collaborative functions of the mayor, staff, council, and committees. We need to restore financial solvency. I believe we can do better, and I'm asking for your support and your ideas to make it so.
Thank you. Tom.
Good evening. I would first like to thank the League of Women Voters for putting on this function tonight. It's an outstanding event to meet everybody. I am currently on City Council. I was appointed in April this year. I was asked by current council members, the mayor, and former council members to apply. The council saw fit to appoint me. My biggest goal at that point in time was to learn more about the committees and commissions. I made an effort to go to every committee commission meeting to learn about what goes on with those, as they're not televised. I am currently involved with the Planning Historical Commission as a liaison from the council. I'm also part of the Council of Governments with the mayor. I'm also attend the Cemetery Commission meetings on a regular basis, as well as, most recently, on the Lodging Tax Committee. I have a unique background. I've been a lender, single family construction. I've been a commercial lender, income property, and development. I have worked for the U.S. Treasury Department on a thing called the Savings and Loan Bailout, where I helped to put cases together to prosecute people who abused the lending laws at the time. I've also coached college football. I own 2 small companies and was lucky enough to move to a town that I really love. The people are amazing. The community has so much to offer. I would like to see it stay the way it is, as much as we can keep it that way. That's what makes it so unique. And I would appreciate your support.
Thank you. Jennifer.
Okay. Good evening. I am Jennifer Chiatella, and I'm running for City Council position number 4 for the City of Roslyn, which is my hometown. I was born and raised in Roslyn, and I currently reside on the same street where I grew up. Over the years, I've spent my lifetime volunteering for my town and my community. I have been involved in numerous downtown groups, such as the Roslyn Business Association back in the 1990s. I was a founding member of Roslyn Revitalization in 2004, which has actually evolved into the Roslyn Downtown Association, which follows the National Main Street program. I have been a volunteer through the Heritage Club. I have served on the Kittitas County Economic Development Group, which was actually absorbed into the countywide chamber, and I currently serve on the Kittitas County Chamber of Commerce Economic Development Committee. Growing up here was a really wonderful thing, and it was truly magical, and I hope to preserve that for future generations. I'm a graduate of Cle Elum High School, and I also graduated from Central Washington University. After graduation, I went on and taught at both the Easton School District and the Cle Elum Roslyn School District, where I fostered relationships that continue to this day. It brings me great joy to see students in this community go on and be able to actually stay here. I have been a business owner in the local area, which I currently do as well. I'm committed to a vibrant Roslyn and an economically sustainable Roslyn where people can actually stay here generation to generation. If I receive your vote and actually get elected to council, I would be the only member serving who was born and raised here. Thank you for your support.
Thank you. Kathy. 1, 2. I didn't use mine.
4, 5. Okay. Okay, so my husband and I moved to Roslyn about 9 years ago, and that makes me a newcomer. And since I don't know all of you, I think I'll just take this time to tell you a little bit about myself. I was born in Port Angeles. My father and his brothers were loggers out there. I grew up in small towns up and down the West Coast, but eventually I moved to Seattle and spent most of my adult life there. I can't tell you how happy I am to be living in a small town again. It feels like home. I have 2 bachelor's degrees. The first is in history, and then 20 years later, I got another degree in art from University of Washington. I also studied architecture for a while in college, and then worked for a couple years as a draftsperson for architectural firms in Portland and Bellingham. I've also tended bar, staffed a crisis center for teenagers, worked in a neighborhood grocery, taught English as a second language, and worked for an educational software company. I have a checkered past. After moving to Roslyn, I became involved in city government. I was 4 years on the Citizens Advisory Committee for the Urban Forest, and almost 3 years on the Planning and Historic Preservation Commission. I'm running for City Council because it feels necessary. Roslyn is at a turning point with all the development going on both inside and outside the city limits. I think we can accommodate business and at the same time protect our historic integrity. One thing for sure though, if we don't try to protect it, we are guaranteed to lose it, and it's just too precious to lose.
Thank you.
Thank you. First off, I would like to thank the League of Women Voters for putting this event on. Any kind of dais that you can present to candidates is a marvelous way of helping the community out. And my familiarity with the League locally goes back to when I got beat by the current mayor 2 years ago. And it was a wonderful experience. I walked into City Hall after getting beat, and Brandy walked up to me and she said, "Yeah, you did pretty good." And I said, "Yeah, thank you." I said, "I think we're going to try for City Council." And she says, "Yeah, that's probably the best slide to start." I don't have the wealth of experience. I've been coming to Roslyn. My grandfather was a miner on Mine 5 from 23 to 50 something, I don't remember. But we've been, the Gersey family has been involved with Roslyn obviously since then. But I was spent the better part of the 50s and 60s over here as a kid. Fell in love with the place. My wife and I were sitting in a little place that was owned by Jennifer Bastrachia about 8 years ago, 9 years ago. My wife looked at me and said, "You've always wanted a place here, what do you think?" "Oh wow, 30 seconds, I better hurry. What do you think?" And I said, "Okay, let's go buy a place." 3 hours later, we owned one. Okay, my history is I'm a construction project manager, sort of a person, retired now for 10 years. But I know how to schedule, I know how to plan, and I know how to manage. I know how to manage projects, I know how to manage people, and I think that's the key to a city council position. I'm done, thank you.
Thank you. Jim, we're going to start the questioning with you. Do you support passage of a city resolution that would enable Roslyn to receive part of existing sales taxes collected in the city to address affordable housing issues?
Wow. Thanks for starting with me. Yeah, I think that any, did I turn that off? No, I didn't. Okay, I think that any reasonable use of tax money towards, I want to say growth, I guess that would go underneath the growth vision, is a proper use. We're experiencing growth that was not anticipated when they did the growth management plan. Missed the projections by 25% in actual people moving to the area. The economics, they did not consider it to be, that it was going to turn out to be such a magnet for the west side with snowmobiling, skiing. And I've just got the stop sign again, so there you go.
Thank you. Kathy?
Well, affordable housing is definitely a really major problem around here right now. And I'd say that even though we've managed to slow down the vacation, turning whole houses into vacation rental properties, we've managed to slow that down, but it certainly hasn't been enough to address the affordable housing issue. If we can get more tax revenues to put in for affordable housing, I would certainly be in favor of it.
Thank you. Jennifer?
Can you repeat the question?
Do you support passage of a city resolution that would enable Roslyn to receive part of existing sales taxes collected in the city to address affordable housing issues?
Yes, I would support that, and I would hope that our cash registers continue to ring in Roslyn. Right now, we're kind of in a little bit of a crisis in our downtown, and I don't think we were expecting to see so many businesses disappear at the end of this summer. As far as the housing issues in Roslyn, there are many people who face housing uncertainty with the threat of rental homes raising their prices or the homes going up for sale. I've been a property manager for over 21 years, and I also am a realtor. I believe that Roslyn should not only allow but encourage the preservation, restoration, and reproduction of the bachelor houses that were so common in our coal miners. Housing is expensive in our area, and countywide we have the lowest vacancy rates in the state, so yes, we do need to address housing affordability in our area. Our city needs to be committed to providing affordable housing for residents and those who actually live and work in our community, not just people who come and live in our town and then commute to the west side. Thank you.
Thank you. Tom?
My answer is definitely a yes. It was covered in the previous council meeting. We're working on a resolution as we speak. I think affordable housing is it's a buzzword throughout the United States right now. It is a real issue here. With the types of jobs we have in the city of Roslyn, most of those employees can't live here. They can't afford to live here. We don't have rental space for them. Most of them live in Ellensburg, and some live in Elum. So affordable housing is a big issue, and we will address it also again with the EDU issue as well. But yes, we're working on a resolution as we speak, and I am fully behind that resolution.
Thank you.
Yes, I think the city should pass a resolution, and I would encourage the county to pass a similar resolution. Right now, only Ellensburg is taking action in our county. So I would ask that the mayor put this on the agenda for quick action. It's not going to be a magic bullet. It won't raise lots and lots of money, but it would raise some money that we could use, for nothing else, to pay people, help people pay rent. But it needs to be part of a larger project and a regional project, because people can't live here who work.
Thank you. Okay, we're going to start the question with you, Doug, since you ended up with the microphone. Our council meets twice a month with occasional special meetings. Other than attending these, how much time are you willing to spend on city issues?
Well, as I said in my open remarks, as long as I've lived in Roslyn, I've been spending a great deal of my time on public matters. Most of this was in non-government organizations in areas of advocacy. So I'm used to spending at least a day and a half or so a week on things such as that, as much as that, maybe not every week, sometimes more time than that. But I attended meetings regularly, and I'm willing to attend meetings. I can control my schedule reasonably well, and I'm devoted to this. So this is an area where I'd like to contribute public service, and I'm willing to spend time with it.
It has been an eye-opening experience being on council for the previous 6 months. There are lots of demands on your time. It's not just the 2 council meetings a month. There are a number of meetings I attend that are 2-3 hours. There are administrative meetings. There's other meetings just like what you see on TV. I've learned a lot in those meetings, and there are on an average month anywhere from 8 to 10 meetings a month, and it can be a number of hours a week. In some weeks I spend 10 to 12 hours on city issues. I have the time to devote to it. I have made time to devote to it. It's important that I be present for that. That's what the city citizens expect of me, and that's what I've done, and that's what I'll continue to do.
Thank you. Jennifer?
As a realtor and living in the community, I actually have a lot of job flexibility, and so I am completely committed to giving any of my time that's requested of me. I have absolute flexibility in my schedule, and anybody who actually knows me and has witnessed me living in the community knows that I'm a person that takes the bull by the horns and get things done, and I'm willing to be there whenever needed. I would be happy to serve my hometown. Thank you.
Thank you. Kathy?
Well, it's pretty important to attend the meetings, and I've been on the Citizens Advisory Committee and the Planning Commission, and one hallmark of my time on those commissions and committees has been that I go to the meetings. And I not only go to the meetings, I also do the work outside and join the subcommittees. And I would certainly do the same thing on city council. I'd go to the meetings, I'd be there, and I'd be part of whatever other outside time is needed. I'm retired, and so I can do that.
Thank you. Jim?
She stole my tagline. I too am retired, and as I campaigned when I did for mayor, I'll say the same thing again. My time is Rosalind's time. My wife and I both are absolutely, I hate the word, in love with, but we really, really, really like Rosalind, and we want to, I'd like to be a part of it. I'd like to be involved with its growth management in the current upswing. Yes, there have been closed businesses, and I'm sure that'll remedy itself, but the tourism that we experience continuously through the summer and of course into winter with the snowmobiling and all this different skiing that goes on, we are going to continue to experience that, and I'd like to be involved.
Thank you.
Kathy, this question starts with you. The two-parter. In your view, what is the biggest financial challenge facing the city, and how would you address it?
Well, I think we have real infrastructure problems here right now. We have the water pipeline coming off Domry, coming down from Domry Creek. That's over 100 years old, needs to be replaced. Obviously, we would need outside help for finding funding for that. One place to look might be to the health department, as that's an issue. The other huge thing that needs to be dealt with is fire prevention. And again, that's a problem that would need to be addressed through outside funding. So that I would be looking outside the city for ways to solve those problems.
Thank you. Let's go to Jennifer.
Can you repeat it again? Yes. It seems like it was kind of long.
It's a two-parter. In your view, what is the biggest financial challenge facing the city, and how do you propose to address it?
I think the biggest financial issues facing the city is actually how do we balance our budget and stay in the black? We cannot be operating in the red, and how do we do that? And over the years, I've been involved in a lot of different organizations, and I feel like I'm very, very connected in the local community and in the county and also at a state level. And I feel like we need to go out and pursue other revenue sources for some of these projects, such as the tire infrastructure in our community, but we also need to be cognizant of things that are occurring in town that are draining revenue or that are taking money from our budget, such as when the emergency firewising had to occur, and that was $50,000 that I believe still has not been reimbursed to the city. And so we just need to be really cognizant of where we can attain money and go out and seek those sources and be fiscally responsible. Thank you.
Thank you.
I was lucky enough in my first couple months as a council member to get to go tour the water facility we have in Roslyn. And we were very, very lucky to have what we have. The whole line does not need to be replaced. There are a couple of issues with it, yes. It's an amazing system, and every time you turn on your faucet, you better be thanking the people that put the thing need to do is we need to fix the problems with the line, and that's coming up, and it's going to get done if I have to step my foot on. Funding sources for things like that, there are funding sources available. We've got money to work towards that right now. We fixed some of the leaks already. But it is an amazing water system. And without water, you're not going to have a city.
Thank you. Doug?
Yeah, I think the biggest financial problem facing the city is our general fund. I'm less concerned in a catastrophic way with our infrastructure because I think those projects can be financed with good planning. But our general fund is, last I checked, we had something like a 6-week reserve. This isn't going to work, and it's not going to enable us to deal with the crises if they occur again, as they will do. I've lived through at least 2 periods like this where I saw the funds go down and get rebuilt. So it's going to take a concerted effort to rebuild reserves so that we have a reasonable buffer. And that means following up on contracts and making sure that we're getting full performance instead of letting things go and then spending more money to get them fixed when they weren't done right the first time. Compliance is a key factor. But long-term planning, which has not been done, or even medium-term planning, needs to start now.
Okay, if I remember the question correctly, what is the biggest, most serious financial difficulty with the current city resources, or how to spend it? I'm certain that infrastructure, I know that the aged infrastructure that we're talking about with water issues, sewage issues, etc. There's that marvelous sewage treatment facility out on the highway past the high school. But the service lines, etc., within the city that feed that, the sewage, etc., the waste product, that's one of the concerns, along with, obviously, the runoff from rain and snow melt. Those are very difficult issues. So I just got the stop sign again.
We're going to start the next question. Jennifer? Thanks. Do you support continued funding of the Roslyn Public Library?
I support continued funding of the Roslyn Public Library. When I was a kid, I think my library card number was like number 41, and Leona Johnson was instrumental in changing my life as a child growing up in Roslyn. So I wholeheartedly support the Roslyn Library and continued funding. I was a remedial English teacher at the high school level and worked with students that were all at least 3 grade levels below in their reading level when they entered high school. And it was mind-blowing, the actual changes that you could make by putting books into children's hands. And I think not only is it books at our library, but we have a librarian currently that offers so many enrichment activities for the children of our community that I wholeheartedly support it, and I always put my money where my mouth is, and I always support our library's fun, our events, which are wonderful.
Thank you.
Yes, definitely support the library. We're lucky to have an amazing librarian. It's not just the library, it is centered in the community. In addition, the issue is we're redoing City Hall, which will shut down the library. And luckily we found working on a place where they're going to move and have more space and more parking during the construction. That library cannot shut down. It's too big a part of what Roslyn's about for the kids. And the programs our librarian offers, and it does an amazing job.
Yeah, I support continued funding, but I'm concerned that the crisis I mentioned in the last question could put our library at risk. And that's why I'm asking all the citizens of Roslyn to wake up to some of our fiscal concerns, because our library needs protection, needs fiscal protection. We live in a county that doesn't have a library system. Only Cle Elum, Roslyn, and Ellensburg have libraries. The county could do more to support a library that serves the entire Upper County area. And we need long-term funding. Bake sales and private contributions are wonderful, but as Billie Holiday said, God bless the child that has his own.
Yes. I believe that the library current funding package, if it pays all the bills, it's sufficient. If it doesn't, we need to find other resources to continue and not maintain, but to allow that library to grow if there is any possibility at all. I know that there's limited space in the possibility of growth because of the facility that it's presently in. But what a marvelous asset the library is to a community of, I'll say, 1,000 people. We are very fortunate to have that facility, and I believe it should continue to be funded.
Thank you. Kathy?
Well, you don't really expect me to say no, right? The library here is so well loved. It's just, it's extraordinary. It's really extraordinary. And of course, we need to continue to support the library and to make sure it's funded. It's an amazing asset to our community, not just for the books, but also for the children's programs. So, yeah, my answer is yes.
Thank you. We're going to start the next question with Tom. If you received a $1 million grant for the city to use any way you wanted, how would you use it?
Wow. $1 million. Well, I would probably start with number one priority. Would be the water system. Fix the leaks in the water main, the line. I would also go off, Kathy spoke of earlier, the fire wise. I lived through the Jelly Mountain fire and scared the crap out of me. As it did, a lot of people went down. So we need the fire wise, we better start taking care of our forest. It's a great resource. So I would price it a lot of money that way. And then I would take extra money and give it to the library. Because I really like the library.
Well, you know, $1 million is not what it used to be. I would divide the money. I would put some in. I would make sure our reserves were intact. So we had more than 6 weeks. I would divide it among our current needs. I think on the infrastructure, again, I believe we can finance this, and we do have an income stream to pay off loans that are well laid out. So my main focus is on those matters covered through the general fund: library, streets, fire, and other matters within that fund. I'm really concerned that we weren't able to get this fire truck replaced as soon as many of us would have wished. And I hope it's done soon.
Doug is absolutely correct. $1 million isn't what it used to be. Growing up, there was a show called The Millionaire, and some guy knocked on your front door at TV and handed people $1 million, and it changed their lives. If you knock on a door now and handed most people $1 million, they run down to the mortgage company and try to settle up their mortgage and get square with that. As far as Roslyn goes, I would personally take care to meet with the entire council. I'd like to get opinions from everyone to make the determination on what to do with $1 million. But my personal thought is pay $250,000 of it to retire the most immediate debt that costs us the most interest, invest $750,000 and keep it in reserve for any kind of shortfall that we may need to plug.
Thank you. Kathy?
I think I would second what Doug had to say about making sure that our general fund is in decent shape. The other problems, the infrastructure problems, need to be addressed as well, but my feeling is that we should be able in some ways to find outside funding for that, and then just get our general fund in decent shape again, so that we don't have to worry about where, you know, how the city's going to make payroll, or just, you know, address like simple issues.
Thank you. Jennifer?
$1 million to the city of Roslyn. I think I would actually defer to the mayor and the other council members and the city staff, and then I'll, you know, hold some public forums, figure out what would be the priority. I think the mayor is well versed in where our shortfalls are and where we may need to put that money. I would want community input. I don't think it should be left to one individual. It's a lot of money, and I know different people have different priorities. And
Thank you. Doug, you get to go first this time. How do you think our city is going to increase revenue to support the increasing demand for services?
Well, I've given some thought.
We do have a tight budget, and I talked to...
As I walk through the neighborhood and speak to people at the doors, there's not a great eagerness for raising taxes. Back in '99, some of us remember the car tabs initiative. A lot of us were excited when we didn't have to pay car tabs. And between Tim Ian and Gary Locke, who after the Supreme Court ruled
that car tab initiative unconstitutional.
You're releasing
Yeah.
after that initiative was
unconstitutional,
government,
put it right into effect.
the impact on that on rural communities was really devastating. And the last check I saw was, as of 2007, Roslyn would have been receiving about $140,000 in money that was sent back from the state. So I don't know if it needs to come from a car tab initiative, but we shouldn't be shy in this rich state to go back and ask the legislature to fund rural communities and replace some of that revenue that's been lost.
Thank you. Tom?
It's a tough question. Taxes are, nobody likes them. They never lower them once they raise them. Some things are going to have to be done through levies, which I'm coming on board with the fire truck with the levy program, which is another way to pay for it, short-term way to pay for it. But raising taxes on people in our community with limited resources. The last time they went up about a year ago, I don't know how many people told me how devastating it was for them. So raising taxes on property, even car tabs in our local community would be devastating. So we're going to have to find some of the sources. I think we've got to be more active in trying to get other businesses like industrial to come there. So we have a revenue base. It's not an easy fix. It's not a short-term fix. It's going to take time and energy to get it done. But by raising taxes, you hurt some of the most vulnerable in the community.
Thank you. Jennifer?
I agree with what Tom said about doing some levies. Also, I think as a city, we need to be looking to economic development and attracting businesses that are going to have the cash registers ringing year-round so that we increase revenue to our community. Right now, we're like wholly tourist-based. When I was a child, there was still logging in our community, and there was a foundry in Roslyn. There was other industry occurring that brought money to our community, and all of those are gone. And so we're solely reliant on tourism, and I think we need to diversify and look at the industrial land that the city owns and look at attracting some businesses there, and we do need to look at economic development.
Thank you. Kathy?
Yeah, I would agree with Jennifer. I think that the light industrial area just out behind City Hall is an area that we need to see what we can do to attract some sorts of businesses, manufacturing, tech businesses, find some way to increase our revenue base. That just seems like the logical way to go, because being a tourist industry, for one thing, is like people are not getting paid a living wage, and so we need to find a way to help fix that situation. That would solve two things at once.
Thank you. Jim?
Okay, we'll make it unanimous, I guess. It's fairly obvious that we need to increase revenues, and taxes are one way of doing it. Am I an advocate for raising taxes? Still, please pull the lever. I am. I don't know which one, and I don't know how much, but I think that we have serious enough problems, infrastructure-wise, etc., that a modest tax increase could be the solution. However, attracting light industry, non-pollutant industry, I think would be obviously our first choice, and I think that, and I'm not just going to blow smoke here, I think the current mayoral candidate and the current mayor, I think, are both well qualified to assist on the revamped council in pursuing that type of economic-based increase.
Thank you. Jim, you get to go first. What is your stance on the drain lake catches proposal? Kittitas.
Well, there's the old double-edged sword. I really don't feel read in enough to offer anything viable outside of the ecological merits, and I think I'm just going to stop there.
Okay, thank you. Kathy?
Yeah, you beat me to that one. Yeah, I don't really feel that I have enough information to make a real determination on that. I know it's part of an area-wide water conservation plan, and that's good, obviously. We need to conserve water, but as far as draining the lake, that's, I can see why people are upset about it. I don't have a really good, I don't have a clear enough picture on it of the total situation.
Thank you. Jennifer?
On Lake Kittitas. Well, the fact is all of our lakes here, the Lake Kittitas, Lake Kittitas, Lake Cle Elum, and Lake Easton, they're all were small lakes that were dammed to create reservoirs so that the water would go to the Rosa Irrigation District and to the Yakima Valley. I think over the years it transformed into recreational uses, and I frequently get people that are looking for lakefront property, they want to be on a lake, and in my mind those are reservoirs. I'm not even sure that power boats and vehicles that are polluting those lakes should even be on them. To me, they're a water source, and I just find it interesting that the people are so up in arms about it, knowing that it's actually a reservoir and it's not a recreational lake. So.
Thank you. Tom?
Interesting question. It bothers me we're doing on reservoirs. Having lived through the Jolly Mountain fire, and we used Lake Cle Elum to assist with putting out the fire. If it's not in the reservoir, where are we going to get it? And we live in a fire area. I've known that since I've lived in Eastern Washington, from Spokane to Cheney. Getting rid of reservoir water in a fire area doesn't make sense to me at this point.
Thank you. Doug?
Hello? yeah, I'm not sure if this is a question that I can offer a meaningful answer to, in the sense that I don't know that any of us has a choice about this. This deal is done, and there are so many parts of it that are interconnected that our individual preferences are really not going to be considered at this point. With respect to that lake, I agree, it's a water project, and the folks who are going to be harmed by this were not consulted, and that's not really fair. Anything we can do could be accomplished, I think, in the realm of conservation and improvements in the irrigation systems that do not involve storage or draining the lake. And I think that that is an area that has not been fully developed, has not been fully explored, and provides some breathing space for any failure we might have to deliver a water project such as this federal plan requires.
Thank you. Kathy, you get to go first. How would you mitigate traffic in the downtown city core?
Yeah, well, that's definitely a problem. You know, we actually do have some places that can be built out as parking areas. But what we really need is signage so people know where to go. There are areas around City Hall, and there are also areas down by Runge Park. There's also the area back behind that connects to the Coal Mines Trail that's owned by Suncadia, but we need to get some really good agreements in place with them about continued parking there, and then just really make sure we're directing people to places where it's appropriate to park and not in our front yards. I mean, on the streets, of course, but you know, there's still a lot of weird parking going on. Thank you.
Is it working? Yeah. Maybe? Parking in, was it specifically downtown? Yeah. In downtown, I think offering encouragement to the business owners to get their employees and themselves to not take up the small amount of parking that we do have in our commercial core is absolutely imperative. Also, on the surrounding streets, like along 903, there's no lines that delineate how big the parking spots are, and I think people do need lines so that they stay within them, because you frequently see people take up like 1.5 parking spots. And I think getting signage, directing people to where there's like oversized parking so that we don't have people parking illegally in front of the coal miner memorial. And then also just general enforcement of parking rules and regulations is really important. Nobody enforces it by the post office.
Parking. It is a problem in the downtown corridor. And Jennifer hit the nail on the head. It starts with the employees working downtown. They can't park there all day. Some of the businesses downtown have people park there all day and rent a bike and go up into the mountain zone and take the trails for that. They can't leave their car in town all day because they're blocking parking. There needs to be some rules, but whether we go as far as saying there's going to be a meter parking in the downtown, that may be a possible issue. Better signage is definitely an aid as well too, because there is parking around City Hall on the weekends, and we need to show them where to go in high-use times, especially during the spring and summer and in the early fall. But I was at Runge Park tonight, people were blocking the street at a soccer game. Those are our residents. So we're all need to do a better job of parking and park illegally. But signage would help. We need some oversized vehicles off the road. That'd be great.
Thank you.
Well, I think we should increase short-term, we should apply short-term parking rules downtown, at least in part of Pennsylvania Avenue, and certainly in front of the post office. I was troubled to talk to a member, a citizen in town who ended up in a fist fight in front of the post office over parking and bad behavior related to that. So 10-minute parking in front of the post office for at least some more spots. Maybe 2-hour parking, at least on weekends, downtown. And then create some additional parking and request some enforcement from our local authorities so that people are not parking in front of hydrants, in front of stop signs, and all over the place where they're not any.
Parking is a fairly major issue in Roslyn, my opinion. If we just take a look at one business, if you take a look on, I apologize for the street on the hotel, or the hotel. Anyway, the hotel is one business, and there is no longer any parking on that street. Marco's, and you're gonna get a couple of cars there in that area. But and I'm not complaining necessarily about the hotel. That's not the point. But parking without meters has come up. Do we want to impose that type of tax on ourselves? Revenue source might help solve it. I am uncertain of this, and I would have to get an answer from past council members if any parking studies have actually been done. I got the stop sign again. Anyway, if there has been some parking studies done, I'd sure like to see them after you elect me.
Thank you. Jennifer, you get to go first.
Okay.
Elected, what city policy or ordinance would you change and why? If any.
Well, I don't know so much that I would change the city policy, but the one regarding no parking in the downtown commercial core during the winter months, I believe it's no parking from like 2 a.m. to 6 a.m. or something along those lines. And I get the idea of why they implemented it. And back in the day, the city crew used to come and plow during those hours. And it seems like it's kind of it's devolved, and they're not actually plowing during those hours, but they will write tickets and not actually plow the downtown core. And so I think that that ordinance should probably either be removed, or it needs to actually, the plowing needs to occur during that time.
Thank you. Tom?
That's a tough one. I don't know what ordinance I would change. I wouldn't change the parking downtown because you don't know when it's going to snow. So I see the need to have the signage there, but you can't put out an email every day and try and do that. Yeah, I really don't have an answer to what ordinance I change.
Okay, thank you. Doug?
Yeah, I want 2 10-minute spots in front of the post office. Thank you.
Pass that down to James, please.
Wouldn't change any ordinance that I'm aware of at this point. Thank you for the question.
Thank you, Scott.
I would ask the city council to reconsider their vote from a couple months ago in which they took a final design review from the Planning and Historic Preservation Committee and put it under the control of the mayor. I think that is too much. That's just too much to put onto one person. The reason we have the commission is because a lot of it does take a lot of people to come to those decisions, and I would want to see that changed back to what it was.
Thank you. Tom, you get to go first. What are your thoughts about having the offices open on Friday? And I assume they mean city offices?
City offices, yes. It would be nice. I mean, it would really be nice, but where we're at budget-wise right now, it isn't feasible or possible. It doesn't mean our staff's not working. I know that the city planner works, whether at the office or home. So it would be nice if we had it available 5 days a week. I don't think right now with our current budget situation it would work. But as we get more revenue sources, more funds, I would sure support 5 days a week.
Yeah, this gets back to the general fund question, no money, and so cutting corners all over the place. Yeah, I'd rather see minutes from our committee meetings being published, typed, and made available to the public. Things like that that are not being done. I'd prefer to see committee meetings continuing as scheduled instead of being canceled due to no agenda. And then when we get some of those bolts tightened up, yeah, let's open the offices on Friday and when we have a 90-day reserve and are breathing a little bit steadier.
All the way down to 10. Thank you.
There's an adage, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. I think that the current structure has served the city well. I know that it's been talked about, I don't know how many years they've discussed increasing the day, the actual work hours. And open it up, I'm sorry, opening. Anyway, on Friday. No, if it's not broke, don't fix it. I think that we're being well served by the current staff and management. Thank you.
Thank you. Kathy?
The current staff is working really hard as it is. While it would be convenient to have the city offices open on Friday, I think it would be it would put so much on the city staff that I don't see it as being an advantage. I think they need that time.
Thank you. Jennifer?
This thing working, I think if it goes red, is it dead?
Yes, I think it needs to be better.
I remember when, I believe it was under Mayor Porter, when we started closing the city offices on Fridays, and the idea was that the city staff was still reporting, and then they were going to be able to do paperwork and have them conduct their meetings and such. So it's not going to reduce our budget by being open to the public or not. I think some limited hours that are open to the public on Friday would actually be beneficial to our community. There are many residents who are only in Roslyn from like Friday through Sunday, but they're still homeowners and they still should have a voice. And if they need to be able to come in and conduct city business, that perhaps someone could be there just limited hours where they're actually interacting with the public. They used to interact with the public on Fridays, and I believe they're still reporting for work on Fridays. So.
Thank you. Because our microphones are starting to fail and it's almost 8:45, I'm going to start closing statements. And we'll start with Doug. You can have that. That one is actually still working.
All right, a live mic. Hey, thanks again to the League for sponsoring this forum and to all my fellow candidates for participating. You know, many of the problems that are troubling Roslyn voters have sources outside our control. Climate change, gentrification, boom and bust economic cycles. So we can't do anything about some of those things ourselves. Other factors are within our power. The way we treat people, the way we govern, whether or not we plan or manage our finances, how we administer contracts or manage city staff. In these areas, we can do better, and we should. I'm asking for your support and your ideas to make it so.
Thank you. Tom?
I've enjoyed serving the city of Roslyn for the past 6 months. I've learned a lot. We've got a long ways to go, but I want to protect what we have. I like what we have here in town. It's important, it's special, and every person makes it unique. And we need to protect that at all costs. We can't protect what's going on in Cle Elum. We can try to affect it, but that's not us. We can protect what we have here, and I think it starts with the citizens. I believe in transparency in everything we do. I've asked the committee chairman for each of the committees we have and commissions to come to at least one meeting a month and give a report in front of council and tell them. So the citizens know what's going on in these commission and committee meetings, which I think is important because they're not televised. With everything we do, I think transparency is important. We need to improve our website at the city as well too, and get that current as well. But going forward, we have lots of obstacles in front of us and lots of challenges. But I look forward where we're at in Roslyn with all of the new businesses coming in.
Thank you. Jennifer?
Let's see. I would like to thank the League of Women's Voters for hosting this candidate forum and giving us the opportunity to speak to the residents, both those attending tonight and those who will be able to see it televised. As a lifelong resident of Roslyn, I am fully committed to the local community. I want a vibrant and economically sustainable Roslyn, and I will work diligently to preserve our heritage for future generations, as well as preserving our natural area around Roslyn so that we can all enjoy it. I thank you for your support.
Thank you. Kathy?
Well, I'm running for city council because I think there's some things that can be changed. And, some of those things include valuing our commissions and our committees in a way that incorporates the information that they give us. The Citizens Advisory Committee for the Urban Forest is composed of individuals who are largely professionals in the resource management field. They know things. The Planning Commission is a group of dedicated individuals who work hard and research issues, and they should also be, their thoughts should be like considered with real concern by the city council, and that's the reason I'm running, is I would really like to see that happen.
Thank you. Jim?
I also like to thank the league for putting this on. I'd like to thank the attendees. You're all voters. Hopefully you're all voters in Roslyn. I would like to thank the other folks up here that have participated. I'm running for office because I really want to be a part of Roslyn's management, its future. That's the reason I ran for mayor, and that's the reason I'm running for council. There was one, Tom made a comment that I highlighted, and he used the term special. And I truly believe that that's spelled R-O-S-L-Y-N. It is a very special place. Thank you.
Thank you. Now, hold your applause.
That's working microphone. If any of you are not yet registered to vote, or if you moved since you last voted, you can stop by the table in the back to update your voting address, or you can go online to register to vote at votewad.gov before October 28th. Voting starts on the 18th. Now we're going to say thanks, and then we're going to give a huge round of applause. We want to thank the Kittitas Centennial Center for generously donating this space for the event, as well as providing refreshments. We want to thank the League and community members who volunteered here this evening. If you support these events, and especially if you want them to continue, please feel free to drop a donation in the hat in the back on the literature table. We especially want to thank the candidates who came here tonight. Again, Jeff sure wanted to be here, but got called into Medic 1. So please cut him a little slack. All these candidates have chosen to step forward to run for elected office, and that involves time, effort, and money, and we wish them all success. They may be able to stay around for a little bit if you want to talk or gather any of their literature they may have put on the back table. Don't forget to visit the League of Women Voters 2019 Voters Guide, which will go live on our website on October 18th. That's kittitasleague.org. Vote for the candidates that best represent your views. Voting starts later this week, and you must have voted by 8 p.m. November 5th. Every vote counts. Okay, let's give them a hand.